Good morning and welcome to Channel 2 Broadcasting. Today at 11:30, The Open-Minded Skeptic.
And with him today is me. My name is Carl. Vincent, it's good to see you again. And I'm so glad that we had a chance to enter this room and talk again about something that's going to be completely unbelievable unless you want to join along.
Very well. Let's get started.
What is today's subject?
Today's subject will be zombies. Zombies. Can you believe it? The Walking Dead.
There's no such thing, but we could prove that there can be. I can't believe I'm actually holding an accent without screwing it up and making it Jamaican.
That's all right. I'm over here giggling my pants off at myself.
You lost yours, so I'll lose mine, yes. Hello and welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
Good morning, Mr. Kevin.
Good morning. I'm glad you made it over.
Thank you. This is a first. This is your topic, which is nice for a change.
This is your show.
Well, through you. You've been very gracious to allow me.
Go on more.
To,
this is the vicarious show.
Please don't stop.
Through me.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
May you remain open-minded as you seek the answers to life's mysteries.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic with your hosts, Phil and Sir.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
May you remain open-minded as you seek the answers to life's mysteries. So let's get started.
Well, here we are in the Connecticut Detainment Lab.
Yeah, Connecticut Zombie Detainment Lab.
Yeah.
Where we've had a small outbreak.
Yeah.
So far it's contained to one individual. And
she's in the back.
She's in the back.
She's not feeling too good.
No, I don't even think she knows where she is because she's now a zombie. So
yeah.
A lot of zombies don't have brains or memories, or that's probably why they're always looking for brains.
That's a very good point, though. Do you think that since they long for them and they know where the brains are, when they find them, they seem to know immediately to chomp on your scalp?
Right.
Do you believe that, first of all, do you believe that zombies have any memories of earlier day life or daytime or day?
That's a good question.
Their life.
You know what? I never even gave that any thought. I will say this, watching The Walking Dead through my wife. I don't watch, like I've said before, I don't watch TV. So
yeah, that's right.
I eavesdrop. I hear her listening, and then I go, what's going on here? Who's this character? Why is that? I've asked since the beginning of the show, how did the zombie outbreak happen?
Right.
But what I've noticed in the show, when a person first gets infected, they seem to retain some cognizance of their memory and existence. And the further along they get, and the more debilitated physically they become.
Just so you know, it's cognizance.
Cognizance?
It's not cognizance, it's cognizance. Sorry, go ahead. So they put
that in there for posterity?
That's right.
No, posterity. That's the way you say it. Posterity.
Prostate area.
My uncle said that. Oh, yeah, this is for posterity. No, it's not. It's a microphone to record our wedding. It's posterity. You dumbass. But then again, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You can tell.
So they retain what they are about. They just have no clue why now they're so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and shortly. And again, watching the show, I guess it makes sense that once they get that infection, they slowly give into it, or they quickly give into it. But through the process, they lose their ability to move, their ability to do things, and their ability to even recognize their human traits.
I wonder if their soul goes on.
Religiously, the soul goes on until the body's dead.
But the dead is walking.
Well, look at people with lobotomies. They're technically...
Good advance there, lawyer.
There you go. So there's a medical zombification in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're jumping ahead a little bit, but
no, that was very good point too.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
Do zombies have souls?
I would say yes. My upbringing and teaching was that, that as long as the body's alive, it has a soul.
Okay. We should put out a warning here that the cat is roaming free, and you're going to hear noises of him being fascinated by birds outside, or since he is a fan of Phil, he might come over and tug on all of his cords and other body parts. So beware.
Yeah, I got all kinds of things dangling off me, so...
So let's go on to the main deal here.
Yeah.
We're definitely discussing zombies.
Yep. Voodoo zombieism. Okay. There obviously is a spiritual ritual called voodoo. It's Haitian. It's in the islands. It's here in America, down south in the Florida area. And it comes originally from Africa. And there is a process where a voodoo priest could convert somebody into a zombie, or at least it's believed.
And they would they call it a zombie, like we know zombie, or is that where the word comes from?
Yeah, the word comes. I believe the word actually comes from the African dialect of voodooism, and they came over here. As a matter of fact, a movie was made with Bill Pullman called "The Serpent and the Rainbow," where.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's based on a true story where a actual anthropologist wanted to find out why people were susceptible to zombieism.
Right.
And he figured it had to do with some sort of a natural substance, some sort of like a drug inducement or, a tropical, like a plant or something. He didn't know what it was, but he wanted to get to the bottom of it. And in the movie, there's a whole spiritual aspect that he wasn't prepared for that plays into it. But yeah, what ended up coming out was it seems that they are able to manipulate people through the use of a blowfish poison that's been dried and powdered. And
how do you figure that out?
It's like anything. How do what caveman how do we figure out this is safe to eat, that's not safe to eat? Somebody had to have done it, and they're like, okay, well, we'll put those aside and not eat those ever again.
Billy, let me have that blowfish. I have an idea.
Yeah, I mean, the Japanese eat blowfish in sushi, and a lot of people die from it because if it's done improperly, the gland could open up and poison all the meat, and then you end up intoxicated and dead. So somehow the same blowfish in the Caribbean is dried out, turned to a powder, and they just know how much to apply, and it causes people to go into a state of almost like a coma, where
like Sally back here
like
behind the wall.
Absolutely,
that's Sally you hear in the background, by the way.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there was a case. Not only was that based on a true story.
Yeah.
There was a case study of a guy named Claudius Renes in Haiti. Excuse me.
Yeah.
He's Haitian. He disappeared after 18 years. They did a funeral. He died. They had a funeral. He was medically examined. There was even paperwork produced that he was dead, declared dead.
Right.
And being Haitian, being in Haiti, they don't have the same embalming practices or everything. They just bury the dead as quick as possible to prevent them from rotting and stinking.
Right.
And that's what they did. So he was buried and disappeared. And then 18 years later, he walked back into his village, still kind of in a zombie-like state, kind of didn't know where he was, disoriented, almost like staggering, like somebody was drunk would be. And it's been documented. This guy actually came back from the dead and said that he was a zombie slave to a voodoo master at work in his fields, cleaning his house, and stuff like that.
You thought blowfish just got big and puffy. No, they can be used.
They can be used.
Tell your spouse you got something for her to sniff.
I think the spiritual aspect of it in voodoo is that they believe that that their soul has departed and they're the reanimated dead. So I think there's a willingness to comply to the voodoo priest or to the master who's controlling the zombie person.
You think that's like a matter of fear and
possible fear? Yeah, I mean, he said that he was physically abused as well, so I'm sure that there's a level of
do this or
abuse,
die.
Yeah, and maybe constant drugging to
Right.
keep it. So I mean, look at drug addicts. So there's people are just addicted to certain drugs and will do anything to get another. Hit. Yeah, and they just become willing servants in order to get that next hit, and maybe this is an unwilling version of what happens in Haiti.
And again, those people become zombies themselves, led by. But I mean, you have zombies, people that are walking down the street with iPhones in their hands.
Yeah.
Those are corporate zombies.
Techno zombies. Yeah,
just elitist yuppie zombies, and they just walk and and if you get their attention, they're like, oh,
yeah. New York State actually is either passing a law or just passed a law that I think it's an assault if you are not paying attention. You walk into somebody with an iPhone. If you're like looking down at your iPhone, texting, or just looking at the screen and not paying attention to where you're walking, it's some sort of an assault charge now.
Awesome,
like a misdemeanor assault charge.
I love it.
Because you're not paying attention.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, what if two people smash into each other and they're looking at their iPhones? You got your iPhone into my Samsung. You got my Samsung in my iPhone.
Hey, it's a Samsung.
It's a Samsung.
I would think that you would have to look at the phones and see who was looking at something more legitimate.
Is it legitimate regardless if it's a legal matter or, some silly video or text, or the fact that they're not
they have to
conducting themselves in a safe manner?
Does it
really matter?
Well, if you have two people who hit each other that are looking at phones, you have to go with the guy who is donating to charity over the guy who's looking at the woman going, sitting on the toilet. Sitting on the toilet. Sitting at the toilet,
And flush.
There was an Ebola victim who returned from the dead.
Really?
In a body bag. He was in a body bag.
Uh-huh.
He died from the Ebola virus, and they pronounced him dead. They checked him out. They checked his pulse. No pulse whatsoever. No nothing.
Yeah. No kidding.
Sat up and was like, why am I in the bag? What is the deal? Unzip the...
Oh, my God. Can you imagine that unzipping?
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
And first of all, Ebola is so nasty. You're just, bleeding from, your pores and your nose and your eyes. And so imagine somebody like that sitting up. I think I'd smack him with a shovel. Just to make sure.
You tell Bernie we're not interested. You tell Bernie put his sunglasses on and set him back down again. But that happened. That actually happened, they say.
Oh, my God. That's crazy.
That
would really freak me out. That would truly, truly freak me out.
There was a 3-year-old girl who woke up from the dead at her own funeral. She died from a massive fever. She was pronounced dead.
Yeah.
They hadn't done any of the embalming goodies yet.
Yeah.
And this is all hearsay because all of this information comes from the World Wide Web.
Now,
so it has to be true. It has to be true.
I got to interrupt.
Sure.
My question is, and you answered part of it being off the web, but my question is, what year did this happen?
This happened.
What country did this happen in?
America.
Supposedly in America?
Supposedly in America.
Okay. What was the year that this supposedly happened?
This is something like 2015.
Well, with that information then, what was her religious background? Because there are some people in America that refuse to do, traditional embalming and other burial techniques.
They didn't say. And this, of course, is coming from me typing into Google real-life zombie stories.
Got it.
But there are a couple, and if not more, of kids or adults that have been pronounced dead. They have a wake, and during the wake, they wake.
Right.
And it's like, what the...
Yeah, see now, I'm going to have to say historically, if you look back, especially like in the Victorian age when they would make coffins, Edgar Allan Poe bought one of these types of coffins where they would have alarm systems where if the person woke up in the grave, they could ring a bell or a horn or something to alert the gravedigger.
There was an air pipe.
An air pipe so they could breathe. And Edgar Allan Poe had bought one, but he was truly declared dead and they didn't need to use it. Mm-hmm. But it was a big problem that people would either suffer some sort of either maybe a mini coma when 4 or 5 days they're completely out, and
you get a dumb guy who's not paying attention at the autopsy area.
Yeah,
going, look dead to me.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, you're talking about
sitting on the toilet.
I mean, during the Victorian age, doctors were only allowed to examine a woman from her neck to her face or from her wrist to the tips of her fingers. They weren't allowed to undress them,
Right.
because of the religious attitudes they had and the very strict attitudes of
Other genders.
well, not other gender. I'm just trying to think of what it's modesty. That's
you.
what it was.
Perfect word.
They're very, very modest about things.
Yeah.
And so you know, they didn't understand it was against the law to open up a body. It was against the law to dissect a dead body because of religious reasons. So, you know, when books came out like Dr. Frankenstein, that was completely taboo because they were breaking not just religious laws, they were breaking, you know, civil laws and civil stereotypes
and
at the
everything.
time. Yeah.
That's amazing, too, because Frankie is the first zombie, in my opinion.
You think so?
I think he would count as the first, not Nosferatu.
Nosferatus.
Well,
He's different. He's the living dead through vampirism.
Yeah, so that's
which
a
is
mix.
a different kind of category altogether.
So, in my opinion, yeah, I think.
You think he was the first? You think?
I think Mary Shelley wrote the story about the first zombie in cinema slash
Okay,
novel.
novel.
Who do you got? You got something ahead of
I
that.
got something even older. I got a Bible reference.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you because I'm no pun intended, not that well versed in the Bible.
Yeah. No, that's all right.
But
Get back to church, lad.
I do
What's wrong
need to.
with
I
you?
got a Bible and I read it whenever I can find it, and I'm terrible with it. And God forgive me, but.
I'm Cardinal O'Connor from New York Diocese. I'm back from the dead to tell you,
Hey!
get back to church, lad.
Hey, happy St. Patty's Day recently.
I thank you very much.
Is that a green?
I'm going to go back to heaven now.
Oh, okay, God bless you. Have a safe flight. So what?
Well, real quick.
What does it say in the?
Okay, let me.
What do you want to do with the medical first?
Well, the medical, I was going to say, I think that maybe, especially with the Victorian age, people, I mean, you're talking the most extensive that they would do to check to see if a body was dead was put a mirror to their nose to see if they could see it breathing.
Yeah.
So you didn't see a breath, maybe because it's cold. Maybe the mirror wasn't, they weren't close enough. Oh, person's dead. So, you know, that's really, you know, they didn't check a pulse or anything else. And person's dead, put him on a slab and bury him.
Poor guys. Can you imagine waking up in a...
Yeah. And again, now you're coming from, you know, basically out of the Renaissance, which came out of the Dark Ages. Now we're moving into the Industrial Age, the Victorian Age. Science kind of was like, hey, listen, the dead body's going to start rotting and putrefying. We got to get in the ground as fast as possible. So even though they thought they were very smart and intelligent, it was still bury a person as fast as you can.
We don't want to catch this.
Hence why we started doing wakes, was just in case the person woke up.
Hence the word wake? Really?
I don't know. That's a good question. That I'm not going to lie. I don't know. But I imagine maybe the person might wake up, and that's where wake came from.
And really quick side note, I have to tell you this. There's a song by Devin Townsend called Awake.
Okay.
And all this time I'm trying to figure out, because I'm a doof with songs. Most people are like, don't you listen to music? No, I listen to the lyrics and try to figure them out, what they're trying to think of. And it finally hit me like a week ago after listening to this song for 3 years. It's about a wake, not awake. It's a wake. And that's what it's like.
Dash wake.
Yeah, and
not
the
awake. Being awake.
The
right.
chorus is awake, awake, awake. I just died a little. Da-na-na, da-na-na. And I never understood why did he die a little, and never thought about it until I was really listening to the words. I want to be set free. A good place for you and for me, or something. And now wake up and so it's a zombie-esque type of thing, but it's about awake.
Nice.
Awake.
Interesting.
I was just like, I'm proud of myself for figuring that sucker. Could be wrong, but that's what I'm going with for now.
I think one of the oldest references that I could find would be in the Bible. Mm-hmm. In the Bible, in Jewish tradition, there was something called a golem. Golem.
Okay.
And there's...
You mentioned this to me.
Yeah, there's pretty close pronunciation of exactly how it's said in Yiddish, too. But anyhow, what it is a... basically a lifeless mass or like a glob that's brought to life by magic or incantations or I can't say the word.
Incantation?
It's not incantation.
It's
incantations.
It's called Calgon.
Let's save that for posterity.
Take me away.
Incantations.
Yes.
Magic. So that's how this thing is brought to life. It's a soulless being.
Yes.
Who is now the servant of its master, whoever created it or whoever brought it to life. And the Jews, the Jewish tradition was that it was used kind of as a bodyguard. So it was usually made out of clay or dirt or stone, hence why it was kind of indestructible. Mm-hmm. And it's usually very big, lumbering kind of a thing. So, but the also ancient Jewish tradition or old Jewish tradition was that they believed that Adam was a golem. Because if you look at it, the Bible says God made Adam out of clay.
Right.
Breathed life into him. So the belief was that God, used, like a magic by breathing life into this clay form, and he created Adam. And he was soulless. So that's why he was obedient to God, and yet, even though he was lonely, and God said, all right, I'll make you a partner, he used his rib. So he created a second life form, Eve, but now she was created from previous life. So hence why she was a little bit less obedient.
Yeah.
She wasn't, the true golem creature. So then later, after, God catches him in sin, it says that now you've committed sin, I'm going to send you to earth and you're going to have to bear children. That the belief is that even though Adam may have been soulless, through the act of, having sex and creating life in the womb, at that moment the soul is locked onto the body develops around the soul.
Right.
And so ever since then, all of Adam's offspring have been with soul and closer to God and connected to God that way. But yeah, there was and the reason they say that is in Psalms 139. It talks about the golem being alive for like 12 hours wandering around the garden. And
wow.
Yeah.
So that would be
and that's again ancient Jewish teaching and tradition was that Adam was the golem. And Adam was the obedient creation of God, the soulless creation.
So that would
of
be
God.
the first. You can't really call that a zombie. You just call that a mindless creature.
Right. But the golem later on became kind of a soulless creature that was mindless and just did whatever he was told. And like I said, he was used as a bodyguard. So a lot of times there would be. Well, again, this is probably why in the ancient world, and I'm assuming here, but in the ancient world, they always had like guardians at houses that were made of stone or clay or bricks, and they were always very large. The thought was that somehow by using magic or some kind of a medallion, you could bring that creature to life, and they would be the protectors of the person living in the home.
So would that count because Adam wasn't dead before he became alive again?
No, but he was an inanimate mass. He was earth and clay. And that's the thing about the golem. The golems are always made out of inanimate material. Earth, clay, stone. So that's but again, I mean that's just their teaching. We look at it a little bit differently, but similar. So that's but it also explains how things have changed. And
you think this was in George Romero's mind when he did the classic?
The classic what?
The night before Christmas.
The night before Christmas.
I'm Jack Skellington.
What's this?
I can't believe my eyes. Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay.
So do you think George A. Romero was basing his stories off of history like that?
Could be.
Or Frankenstein, maybe.
Could be. I mean, because you look at zombies, they're mindless, just wandering around. But the only difference was to give it the scary effect, they became brain eaters. That kind of brings it back into modern day about eating.
Right.
And that goes right into your next story from China.
There's activity in China considering zombies in 2012.
Okay.
Relating to the zombie lifestyle that we've come to know and love.
Okay.
Angry taxi driver chowing down on a woman's face because she wouldn't pay the
tab?
The tab.
Wow.
This happened in 2012, and that makes me think, How angry do you have to be to start chewing on somebody?
Well, let me ask you this. Is that a cultural thing to bite people? To take big chunks of their flesh? Is that something the Chinese do when they are angry? Or is it just that this guy watched one too many zombie movies and decided to just... It's a very zombie-esque type of thing to do.
It's very zombic.
Zombic? Is that the way it is?
Yeah.
Well, getting back into science, if it's a scientific thing, there's a spore.
What's it called?
I hate you.
Is that the name of the spore, or is that just how you feel?
No, I can't even try to pronounce this.
All right, I'll give it a shot. You try it first, and then I'll repeat it.
Well, why? So you could do better than I do?
No.
Because you will.
Ophiocordyceps unilaterus.
There you go. You said it perfectly. Let's cut the rest of that nonsense out and keep that in there. And it's a spore a fungus spore.
Right.
It's known to get into ants and possibly other insects, but definitely ants. It takes over their brain, and it literally makes the ant get out of their little regular regime line and climb to the highest sunlit branch and leaf, and then stick its head up, and then all of a sudden, once it's there in the sunlight, the spore consumes the ant's body so it could reproduce and send out more of its little sporelets. So freaky. It literally takes over the ant's body and brain and makes it go wander off and do what it wants it to do.
And it's known to take over everything except for the organs and the muscles that...
Because it's got to control. It's got to control the brain. So it takes over like...
Isn't that ingenious?
Scary ingenious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evolution of a spore.
But imagine if that took over something much more complicated, like a mammal.
Or a human.
Humans are in the animal.
If it's a big enough fungus. Among us.
Well, it doesn't take a big fungus to screw people up. Look at stuff like
mushrooms,
or even the common cold, and some of that's caused by funguses and spores and molds. People have died from like black mold in bathrooms and.
Or you could get the Henny.
What is the Henny?
H1N1. But still, yeah, and it's scary that could. One day we're all going to stand on top of our houses at the sun and then become a plant.
Basically, it'd be pretty gross. I mean, look at the way some dead bodies decompose. They cover in mold and spores and everything else, and
become the earth again.
Yeah. There's a lab. I don't know where. It's out in the woods, but they literally take corpses that are people that donate their body to science, and they put them out there. And just to see how a body would decompose. And I've seen photos of them, and they're, you see the skeleton, you see the clothes are like worn out. But, yeah, gross. Well, I guess the question is then, you think there's obviously some reality, and maybe the fictional characters are based with some real life scenarios, such as the spores, such as the one thing we didn't touch on is drug addiction. And bath salts.
Bath salts is the new way of getting a pizza without it being in a box.
Ick.
Talking about face pie.
Face pie.
It's been documented, and some of you might have heard it, that bath salts and drug-induced psychotic real-life zombie attacks happen throughout our country.
Yep. 3 of them I know of.
You can buy packets of bath salts with pretty... stuff on it because it's not regulated. I'm sure it might be regulated by now, but it's not regulated by the...
I don't think they're the same bath salts.
Oh, no, they're not.
No.
But it's just sad that...
Yeah, the chemical bath salts. Yeah, they're just getting... Well, look at heroin. Heroin, almost the same thing.
Why do people want to get in the bath? For that 5-second whoop-de-doo that you won't remember in about an hour?
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see how mind-altering... personas could make somebody either react brainlessly or mindlessly, I should say, or be under the influence to do something.
And that leads to conspiracies in my head where the U.S. government or any government, not just U.S., would end up creating people that were so...
Zombies?
Zombic.
Yeah.
And the zombies. and they would be mindlessly fighting and not have to worry about... And they would be back from the dead.
You really think back from the dead?
No.
Dead, or just more?
I think people that were supposedly going to die. Here's what I would make a movie about.
Uh-huh.
People so far gone that they're going to pass away from something. Terminally ill.
Yep.
People that are terminally ill, given this bath salt mix, and become the super soldier. And have a army of mindless...
Well, the
your
CIA
face.
back in the 50s and 60s did a lot of experimentation with different drugs, hallucinogenic drugs, LSD and whatnot.
Timothy Leary.
And I'm not saying that they've never implemented anything. I don't know. I don't.
But do you think maybe that was the idea?
Well, I think you're on the same page here. I think that was the idea, was how can we influence people, both soldiers to fight on our side, as well as people who we want to either provoke a riot or to create a sense of fear and make them surrender. And they were looking for some sort of mind-altering substance that would create those different personas in the people.
And by accident, they ended up creating nothing but a bunch of hippies and Woodstock.
Yeah, pretty much. But...
and some great musicians.
Yeah. They picked up, I think it came out in the 50s for the U.S. government, because it was found out that the Blitzkrieg, everybody knows about the Blitzkrieg with Germany invading Poland and Czechoslovakia.
Right.
These guys were going nonstop. They only basically stopped the fuel and kept fighting and going. And they drove right through, basically driving 48, 72 hours straight. And it was just, and again, it was always thought that it was, oh, these are the super soldiers. This is the elite training that the Germans have come up with. It's recently been discovered that there was a roll of something that looked literally like TOMS, and it ended up being crystal meth.
That's what I heard about that.
Yeah, the crystal meth is what the soldiers were all given, and it was called I don't know. It was, they I don't remember the name, but it was
Rolaids.
Rolaids. No, it was. They were told that it was for pep and vigor, and whenever they were feeling down or feeling tired, to take these things, and so it created a euphoric sense of indestructibility. Mm-hmm. A lack of pain. They were wide awake and up, so alert. So that's why they were so focused and yet so brutal at the same time, and had no sense of compassion when they came through a lot of these areas. And I'm sure that the SS people were doing the same thing, especially in the camps where, you know, the atrocities, the level of the atrocities, and have to live. These guys were living in those camps too, so they'd have to smell that and see that day in, day out. They had to have been on something. They had to have been taking something in order to
dull in their minds.
Absolutely dull their minds.
Just killing.
But yeah, so I mean, through crystal meth, the Germans were able to make basically a super soldier.
Have you ever heard of Con Plan 8888?
Yes, I actually have.
You have? I have a PDF file of it.
I know you do. It's a actual government response to a zombie apocalypse.
Can you believe it?
Yep.
It exists.
Yeah, when I was working for the Navy, I came across this.
Now, is this something that was made up just because the guy was bored? Do they firmly believe that this could happen?
I was told, this is what I was told. I was told that if it's one of these scenarios that if it's possible for society to see it as an issue, just like the UFO thing and dealing with aliens, there's actually a response of how to deal with aliens if you come across one, you know, what the government's going to do, what you're supposed to do as the individual soldier or person dealing with it. So as unrealistic as it is, they still have this protocol to be in a real situation. So I was told
Just in case. Now, I was told this was more just a kind of a what-if scenario. But then somebody else told me when I was at the Navy base, and he was a much higher up. This was a senior chief, senior master chief, I think is the order they go in. He said, listen, he goes, the government doesn't ever waste their time making these protocol booklets unless they truly believe there's a reason for it. So this is like the strength for me.
But again,
I
it
think
could be,
this is-
it might not be the zombies that we're used to seeing on film of walking around eating brains to sustain themselves on brains, but it may be back to more of the person who is, heavily medicated or even like Mad Cow. Mad Cow is a form of, or Ebola is a form of zombieism that I think that this protocol was written for, because these people are massively infected. The infection is very contagious, easy to pass on, and it causes this mindless condition where people are just wandering around, kind of stumbling over themselves, have no sense of pain, no sense of that they're even alive and doing anything other than they want to hurt other people, almost like rabies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, I would almost say rabies is another zombie-like disease because, it affects the brain, affects the motor skills. And whatnot.
Makes it a zombitrition.
Yep. But one other thing is we didn't talk about, but real quick I wanted to throw in there, was lobotomies. Talking about medical procedures or real life.
Turning people into zombies.
Yeah, and that's more along the lines of, somebody who's brain dead, but yet controllable. So they basically can't respond. They have no free will. And they're, the way they did it back in the 40s and 50s, give a person a lobotomy. All right, go sit down. I'll sit down. All right, it's time to eat dinner. I'll eat dinner. Because they couldn't do it on their own anymore. And it was for anything from people having seizures and fits to, uncontrollable, volatile individuals, violent individuals. And it was a way just to make them controllable without killing them, I guess.
You saw what Hannibal Lecter did to Ray Liotta.
ZombieCon Plan 8888. Disclaimer. This plan was not actually designed as a joke. During the summers of 2009 and 2010, while training augenities from the local training squadron about the JOPP, members of the USS Stratcom component found out by accident that the hyperbole involved in writing a zombie survival plan actually provided a very useful and effective training tool.
And that's amazing to me that this is actually a document, and I downloaded the PDF. Yeah. So obviously it's not classified anymore. It actually says unclassified at the top. But
for the commander, name, rank, file, US. Yep.
And counter zombie dominance operations.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And silly for some reason, but I guess you need it just in case.
Yeah, and again, I don't think it's going to be like World War Z, but I think it's more magic evil zombies. So they actually break down the different types of threats.
Yeah. Evil magic zombies.
Space zombies.
Space zombies.
They're not joking around. They're seriously considering different ways that somebody or something could become zombified. And you really look at the top one, the pathogenic form.
Yeah.
Again, we covered mad cow, Ebola,
bacterias,
rabies. So this scenario is not hard to really perceive.
It's so weird.
It's just a matter of it happening on a massive scale, like
chicken zombies.
Chicken zombies. Although it sounds ridiculous, this is actually the only proven class of zombie that actually exists.
So it's chickens that...
And they just leave it at there. There's no further information. Oh, the first documentation by Jonathan M. Forrester on December 2006. Online article, Zombie Chickens Taking Over California.
So we're going to take our military and go shoot some chickens.
Holy cow.
So there's 33 pages. You can look it up yourself. Conplan 8888. PDF file. Just download it, help it see yourself. I want to print this sucker out and have a little book out on the table.
Just have it ready for friend guests come over.
Just in case somebody needs some light reading. Kev, where'd you get this? Nothing. I should put that back in the vault.
See, before I leave the house, I just put out duct tape, rope, and a knife. So this way, if somebody breaks in, they're like, "What the hell's going on in this house?"
Yeah, if you ever want to learn what to do about how to kill zombies, Zombieland. That's the movie to go.
Zombieland. Nice.
That's it. Did you ever see that one?
No. Again, like I said, I'm not a big.
I got it.
See, if it was based on more like they just read out that somebody was infected with something. If I understood how it seems like all the zombie movies from the Night of the Living Dead, they just show up. And now it's a matter of fight for survival. That's what annoys me. I'm one of these people. I want to see the origin.
Then World War Z is for you.
Is it really?
With Brad Pitt.
And that's why I didn't see it. I don't like Brad Pitt.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
That's why I don't like
He's a dreamy hunk.
Yeah. No, I wanted to see it, but then I was like, my problem is movies nowadays, the commercials show you the entire movie. Why should I sit for another 2 hours to get the filler stuff that they didn't show?
So you figured out already that Angelina Jolie did it.
I did, absolutely.
All right, Phil, I'm going to let this chick out.
Okay.
Sally, you're going to be coming out. And the reason you're coming out is because I thought we would all dance to Jonathan Coulton's Re Your Brains. And it's a song he did about zombies. JonathanCoulton.com. Check it out. Great music.
Great.
All right, you want to read?
No, I'm going to stand behind a chair just in case she gets a little crazy.
Well, I'm going to go dance.
You go dance. Bye.
Great show.
Thank you.
Come on, sweetie. It's time to get
May you always remain open-minded as you search for the answers to life's mysteries.
Hey, Tom, it's Bob from the office down the hall. It's good to see you, buddy. How have you been? Things have been okay for me, except that I'm a zombie now. I really wish you'd let us in. I think I speak for all of us when I say I understand why you folks might hesitate to submit to our demand. But here's an FYI, you're all gonna die screaming. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable, I mean no one's gonna eat your eyes. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're at an impasse here, maybe we should compromise. If you open up the doors, we'll all come inside and eat your brains. I don't wanna nitpick, Tom, but is this really your plan? Spend your whole life locked inside a mall. Maybe that's okay for now, but someday you'll be out of food and guns, and you'll have to make the call. I'm not surprised to see you haven't thought it through enough. You never had the head for all that bigger picture stuff. But Tom, that's what I do, and I plan on eating you slowly. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable, I mean no one's gonna eat your eyes. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're at an impasse here, maybe we should compromise. Open up the doors, we'll all come inside and eat your brains. I'd like to help you, Tom, in any way I can. I sure appreciate the way you're working with me. I'm not a monster, Tom, well, technically I am. I guess I am. Wrap it up. No, we'll get to common ground somehow. Meanwhile, I'll report back to my colleagues who were chewing on the doors. I guess we'll table this for now. I'm glad to see you take constructive criticism well. Thank you for your time, I know we're all busy as hell. And we'll put this thing to bed when I bash your head open. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable, I mean no one's gonna eat your eyes. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're at an impasse here, maybe we should compromise. You open up the doors, we'll all come inside and eat your brains.
All of Zerbinator's music and podcasts are under the Creative Commons license, which allows retelling and rebroadcasting as long as the author is notified and credited. For more great escape pods, please visit www.zerbinator.wordpress.com. If you would like to contact Zerbinatorland, you can send an email to instrumentally@gmail.com or give us a call at 571-408-ZERB or 9372.